All right, I'll start off. In regards to injuries, we have Bush with a hamstring. Still have McManus with a hamstring. No update on Panero, and then obviously, as you all saw, we signed Lamar Miller to the practice squad. As far as going back and watching the tape, it's kind of what I felt after the game, which was I thought our defense played well. There was just a couple runs that they had. That's a good football team running the ball, but for the most part, I thought they played really well. They flew around and did their job. 19 points is enough for us to win a football game. On offense, third down, 4 for 14. So we got to, this has been a theme for us. So what we got to make sure we do as coaches is make sure that we're putting these guys in the best position possible to help them out. And then when we do that and we put them in a good play, then they got to execute. That's the give and take on both sides. Obviously the run game is what I thought it was, is just, that's a good front that we played. Linebackers fly around. They did a good job. Again, I think that's going to be one of the better defenses that we see all year long. And we're going to see a lot of good ones coming up here. So, but we have to, whichever way it is, it doesn't matter. We have to be able to run the football. We cannot be one-dimensional. We got to, execute in the red zone. And so I know that we'll be patient. I talked this morning a little bit about calibrating, us as Nick as a quarterback, getting calibrated, myself with him getting calibrated in regards to working through this process. We got to get on that and roll. It's time. And then special teams, we had too many penalties, had to block punt, and our kickoff return, just wasn't where it needs to be. So Tave's going to get those guys back on track. So with that, I'll open up the questions.
Adam Johns.
Hey, Matt, I wanted to ask you about two plays in the red zone yesterday. The 2nd and 5 where Nick went with the handoff, but David was already out in his route. What happened on that one? And then the play right after that, the miss outside throw to Demetrius Harris. What did you see on that? Where was the ball supposed to be? And then is that supposed to be a play that could go to Cole Kmet maybe in the future?
Yeah, so Adam, two things. So yeah, number one is we ended up we had a kill attached to the first play, that 2nd and 5, and there was a miscommunication with those guys on the kill process. There was a little confusion there from one play to the next, and again, that's some of the give and take that we have as we go through this thing. There's some good plays that happen because of a kill, and then there's some bad plays that happen because of a kill, and that happened to be one of the bad ones, which hurt us, in that situation, because now you're in third down. Third and 5, the next play, they zoned us out, and which we were expecting, and the ball was just thrown a little bit outside. I think Nick was a little concerned, Adam, when you go back and look at it. He was a little concerned of his vision of not being able to see if there was a hook to curl defender that was going to buzz in front of the route that we ran on the outside. So, that there is where we got to be more effective there in that situation.
Jason Leisure.
Matt, what went into the roster move over the weekend with promoting Tyler Bray to the roster for that game and then making him inactive?
Yeah, you know what, Jason? It was just there's really nothing to it other than just for us to be able to. Tyler's done a good job of understanding where we're at as an offense. To be able to bring him up and kind of help Nick out as well. They have a really good relationship, so having him come up and just be a voice for him. I think sometimes those are parts of the game that is nice to have. And so we had that. Obviously, we could all look back and say, well, we scored 11 points, and that's real. But that there's really nothing to it other than that. Mitch had a really good week of practice. He was great all week long. It was not an easy week for him. It's different all week long being in that role, but he handled it great, and Mitch was awesome on the sideline yesterday.
Dan Wiederer.
Matt, going back to that kill confusion there, what causes the miscommunication there? And specifically with that coming directly after a timeout, how frustrating is that for you?
Yeah, that's the part that bothered me, Dan. It came right after a timeout because we talked about it on the sideline, the play that we were getting into. And without getting into major details, sometimes you go from a pass to a run and a run to a pass. And basically what happens is we called we called a run kill pass and ended up thinking it was a pass kill run. So we were off there in communication there in regards to the decision there. And that's again, that's kind of what you run into when you have some of that. It's just unfortunate it happened right then and there. That was the tough part.
Jeff Dickerson.
Hey, Matt, I'm sorry, just to clarify, so with Tyler then being added to the active roster, is he able to do more during the week of prep to help Nick? You said he needed, he helped Nick, obviously, another voice in the room. Can he do that from the practice squad, or can he do more being on the active roster? I'm not sure if I understand.
Okay, yeah, so I'll be more specific. It's more of him being on the sideline, Jeff, of having him on the sideline on game day. That's all. Yep. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
Sir, yes.
Good.
JJ.
Matt, I want to ask you about the 3rd and 1 at the start of the 4th quarter. It seemed like your offensive line hadn't got a lot of push in the run game to that point. You kind of ran a lot of motion. What did you like about that play call that you were hoping might open something up with Cordero running it there?
Yeah, those are one of the ones sometimes where it's an opportunity at 3rd and 1. We've had that on the we've had that on the call sheet now for a couple of weeks, and we keep talking about that we like it and we want to get to it and give our line an opportunity to run it. They made a good play on that front line. I mean, they got shoved. They beat us on the line of scrimmage and made a play. So always when you go back and you look at that, you look at it as if, I mean, I was going to go for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and less, but we ended up losing a yard or two, so it made it harder. So I was okay with the play call there. I don't like us losing a yard or two on that down and distance. I mean, that's a time to really get ready to rock and roll and get that first down. It's more so, JJ, it was a little bit of a challenge, and we didn't get it. So that was a part of the frustrating process there.
Pat Finley.
Matt, we talked to you a lot about going under center and in the offseason deciding that may help both your run game and Mitch in the play action. When you have Fultz, who appears at least to be more comfortable in the shotgun, how do you have to recalibrate your run game from that perspective?
Yeah, you know what? There's times where he is more comfortable in the gun, and you see that and you feel that at times. I think when I say that calibrating, that's us too offensively. Just to your point is, okay, where are we at with the scheme that we're running now, and then when you have a change of quarterback, obviously different quarterback or all quarterbacks are a little bit different in what their strengths and weaknesses are. So what we got to do is make sure that we're doing everything we can that's best for this offense, but yet also helping Nick out. And I think that's kind of the balance. And as we go through this, it should only get better as we work through, okay, what's good from under center and what's good from gun, and then without giving too many tendencies as well.
Cam Ellis.
Matt, I know that none of you guys are pleased with 11 points, but were there any moments on Sunday with talking to Nick or watching Nick where you sort of felt that justification for making the switch a week earlier?
Yeah, the biggest thing yesterday, Cam, was that there just was no rhythm. And so when you're on the sideline and you're talking about where you're at, what plays you like, I think what I noticed from Nick was just a no panic on the sideline. Even as frustrating as it was for all of us, there was really no sense of panic at any time. It wasn't anybody being pissed off or angry because of the way things are going. That's not how it was at all. And so when you're able to talk after the game, we had a good discussion, and it's just, hey, we gotta understand that. First of all, you give credit to the Colts; they did a great job. But second of all, then how do we get better, right? What do we do, and how do we fix where we're at? And so, as long as you know that you have players and coaches that care and that want to work together to find answers, then there's no panic, there's no get all concerned or up in arms. There's none of that. We just get back to the drawing board. We have a short week right now. We're going to play a really good defense with the Buccaneers. They fly around that front seven now. They roll, they roll. And so our O-line is going to be challenged again. And how are we going to accept that challenge? But we got to have a very quick, short walk-through, jog-through practice the next 2 days and get right back at it and be mentally strong.
Deion Miller.
Matt, you just, along those lines about Nick and some of the struggles that he had yesterday, third down, some inaccuracy, very similar to what Mitch dealt with. What do you know maybe about Nick that we don't, that gives you the assurance that he can improve quickly, find that rhythm, especially on a short week?
Just his experiences have been there, done that. Again, like it's comforting to know that when you go through those situations, I mean, there's no concern like, oh no, here, here's an issue, or here's this, or here's that. We don't have that. We really don't. We have to find solutions to how on third down, what are the whys, like, is it execution? Is it schematics? When are they happening? Are there any of that stuff? And then once you do that, that's one of his biggest strengths, is that he's just got a lot of calmness to him, and he doesn't get too panicked about any of that stuff. And it permeates and spreads through the rest of the team.
A couple more for Coach Brad Biggs.
Hey, Coach. Scoring at an all-time high for the NFL entering Week 4. What gives you confidence you guys can hang in there in some of these higher scoring games that you'll probably get in at some point? I know you managed 30 at Atlanta, but not a great defense, and they had a bunch of injuries.
Yeah. No, that's definitely the trend. You're seeing that. I think you're seeing it because there's zero home field advantage as we go here. So probably I'll start off with just saying run game. Let's get the run game going. Let's understand where we can get with that. Let's get some chunk plays out of the run game, which will help the pass game. And then we just didn't have a lot of opportunities yesterday in the red zone. So when you're down there, you got to come away with touchdowns. But we have to be able to score more than obviously 11 points. That's not going to do it at any game. So whatever that is, we need to come up with answers and figure it out. And I feel really good about our players. I feel good about our coaches. We're sitting at 3-1 right now. So after 4 games to be at 3-1, no matter who we play and how they come, that's where we're at. So we feel like we can certainly get a lot better. And if we do that, then hopefully we can become a team that puts it all together at the right time.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Matt, just 2 more plays I want to follow up on. There was in the first quarter, looked like Nick faked the handoff to David and then threw it to him, and David didn't seem to be ready for it. Was that another miscommunication? And then the second play, the interception, just did you get any more clarity, anything different from watching on tape than seeing it live yesterday?
Yeah. No, the first one, there was no I'm trying to think which one you're talking about on the first one. Where you said he faked it to him and then threw it down?
It looked like it might have been a zone read situation where Nick was holding on to it for a while, and then the pass rush came and he kind of flipped it to his left. And David
yeah. No, that was we had a breakdown in a specific position there. We were supposed to have the tight end come back across and block there. I mean, that was coming wide open right there on the deep cross. You saw A-Rob was coming open on a deep cross, and we're supposed to come back and block that guy in the end of the line of scrimmage. We didn't block him, so he had to just get rid of the ball. So there was no miscommunication there. And then the interception, just a little bit off with the throw, on that route right there, and then trying to come across and catch that ball. It got tipped, and just one of those deals, just a little bit off, and it ended up scooting into that safety's hand. The guy made a good play.
Last one, Adam Hogue.
Hey, Matt. Obviously, a lot of your focus in the offseason was improving the run game and making sure you weren't one-dimensional. What makes you hopeful that this was just one bad game and that you'll be able to correct it and won't become like a season-long thing like last year?
Yeah, well, I just feel like I know where our guys are at. Our offensive linemen, they're working so well together right now. Coach Juan and Donnie really got these guys lasered in. They're working hard. It's for us. I hope it's just one of those games where you just feel like, that defensive line, and some of the things that they were doing. But at the same time, I trust our guys. I really do. I really trust our guys. I trust our scheme. I trust David. I trust our running backs, Cordero, Ryan, all these guys. And so we gotta stay with it. We can't get caught off guard and all of a sudden try to be one-dimensional. And that's my job. And then when teams know that you're going to run the football, are you able to run the football, right? And so if you can do that, then you'll be a pretty good football team. Because now what happens is it's beautiful because it sets up play actions, and now guys are open because linebackers are trying to fly and stop the run. It sets up screens because now the D line's rushing upfield, and it just makes things a lot easier. I love going 2nd and 2. I don't think there was a lot of 2nd and 2s yesterday. A lot of 2nd and 8s, a lot of 2nd and 9s, a couple 2nd and 19s. So that first down for us moving forward has to be better. And I have all the faith in the world in our guys that they'll do that, and we'll get an opportunity on Thursday.
Nick, on the interception over the middle there to Anthony, what was your vantage point on that sequence?
You know what? I got to be more accurate. I gotta help him out. I was trying to lead him out of the break to have him split the safeties, and it was probably about 6 inches too far. And that's on me, and that's something that is an easy fix for me. So obviously my fault, and I'll help Emil out and give him a better ball next time so he can make a play.
Jason Leisure.
Nick, how did you feel overall about your chemistry with the receivers and your throwing accuracy today? Did you feel like yourself like you normally do?
You know what? It wasn't the best game. No, you know what? And I think the Indianapolis Colts are a great team, but I didn't execute well enough, and we didn't execute well enough. But that's something, like I said before, I was just on a radio. That's what I said. But we will look at it. We'll move on. We'll improve. This is part of football. This is part of building those relationships and understanding plays, and continue to grow. And I have to be better. I have to be more crisp. And it's as simple as that. And I look forward to improving. I look forward to, tomorrow getting back at it. It's a short week, and, we have a game Thursday night. So, that's just football. We got to keep improving.
Mike Berman.
Nick, Matt just said he feels like for you getting the rhythm with the offense and the receivers, it's going to take some time. I mean, how long is something like that potentially going to take for someone like yourself who didn't have the traditional workouts during the off season and then was working as a backup to start the year?
I don't think there's a time on it. I think it's just, tomorrow we're going to have an opportunity to get better. I don't think I've ever played in an undefeated season, and every time you lose, it shows more than wins do, and you never want to lose, but that's part of it. And I look forward to working with the guys and moving forward. It's never easy, but it tests you as a human being. Are you going to let a loss define you as a person, or are you going to continue to move on and be there for your teammates? So I look forward to, this is a special locker room. I really like this locker room, and it's a locker room that will look at this, we'll improve, we'll get better, and we'll get ready to work this week, and we'll be ready to play Thursday night.
Adam Johns.
In terms of building this game plan this past week, and then the play calls that Matt was sending in, how in sync did you and Matt feel this game, being your first game together?
I felt great with Coach Nagy calling the plays. It's as simple as we just have to execute better. I have to execute better. And if we do that, we're going to be in a position to win the game. We got a little bit of, we got down the red zone, and, unfortunately the pick happened. And then, we marched down again, and we were able to get a touchdown. And I think the big thing you see from that is guys didn't give up. We kept fighting, and that's something you can build on. We've made the first 4 weeks of the season pretty hard on ourselves. So it's something where we have to continue to improve and get better and just go out there and play good team ball. And if we do that, I think some really good things will happen.
JJ.
Nick, you hit a couple deep balls on that first scoring drive, and then those kind of dried up as the game went on. Were you just not seeing those run open, or was it just something that the Colts were doing defensively against you guys?
Yeah, I mean, they were playing their safeties pretty deep, which makes it a little harder to get over the top. And, they were giving us some underneath stuff, but they were doing a good job of, we'd hit underneath route and they'd stop it right there. So they're a good team. I watched them on tape, and, they did a really good job tonight. They outplayed us. They out-executed us. And, we hurt ourselves. We have to be better in those moments. And there'll be a lot of great things to learn from this game to move forward to be better.
Pat Finley.
Nick, is there a throw or two that you would like to have back?
I think, the big one is just putting it on Emil on that one play that turned into a pick. I think that, if I tried to lead him out of it, I think if I just put it on him, it'll be obviously a better situation. And, there's a couple of throws earlier that were a little high. And, just continue to just deliver the ball, be accurate, let our guys make plays. So that's on me, and that's something I know how to do.
Adam Hogue.
And Nick, obviously you've talked a lot about how much you love this offense. With things looking disjointed at times today, how did you feel in the operation and just in the operation of the offense today?
I mean, obviously, the outcome sort of shows, how we executed. But at the same time, I felt like we continued to communicate well between the players and coaches. We continue to work together to adapt throughout the game. And the big thing is we never gave up. And I know a lot of people look and it's like, well, you lost, but there's a team that gives up at some point. And there's a team that doesn't give up at some point. And you can build on a team like this. And I think that's the big thing. We didn't come away with the win, but we played until the clock hit 0. And we can build on that.
A few more. Dan Wiederer.
Nick, there's not a lot of time here for the cleanup process, and the team that comes in here Thursday night is averaging about 30 a game. How do you sort of instill the urgency in everybody over these next 72 hours?
I think the big thing is, we have a schedule tomorrow, and we get back to work, and the little attention to details, and just continue to talk through it, continue to build this culture, continue to, have these conversations about the plays, and honestly, taking ownership. I think the big thing as players is we have to take ownership to get better. And this locker room has that ability, and that is the type of locker room that is here. We have coaches that are ready to roll, that are going to put us in position, and we're going to continue to grow from this. I've been on some special teams where, we had a few hiccups along the way. And it's how you deal with these situations that makes you a special team. So I like the locker room we have here, and I believe in it.
Hey, Alan, can you put a finger on why you guys weren't really able to get into a rhythm on offense?
I really can't. This game really didn't get too much of the run game going. Some of our stuff off the run game, we weren't able to get going either. It's tough to put a finger on stuff, in games like this. And then I feel like in the second half, the coach just try to keep everything in front of them. But, again, we got to do a better job on first and second down, especially. Third down as well. But, again, in the first half, I think we only had, one drive that I think that in the second quarter that felt like we got a little bit of a rhythm. Darnell had caught one on the sideline and I was able to make a play. I think we had, a 10 or 12-yard completion to David. But other than that, everything kind of felt stagnant.
Hey, Rob. How did things feel different with Nick as opposed to Trubisky?
That's tough to say. Again, it wasn't too much difference. Like I said before, it really hasn't been too much difference as far as things that you can actually feel. Whatever the case may be. But again, just all around, we got to play better.
Colin Kane.
Hey, Alan, you guys only have a few days before you have to host Tom Brady here. And how do you guys kind of regroup quickly?
Yeah, we won't have a choice. We got a game in, 4 days? So, we have to regroup. Again, that's what makes this league special. We put quarter 1 of the season behind us. We finished 3-1. Now we're in the quarter 2 of the season. Again, we got a good team coming in here in Tampa Bay. That's playing well right now. That's starting to heat up a little bit. So, again, we got to take on the challenge. We got to come out here and play better.
Finley.
Walk us through the touchdown catch there at the end.
Yeah, Nick just gave me a shot. I was able to go up and make a play. Same thing like on the sideline, on our sideline. Same thing. Just give me a shot, went up and make a play. Again, I kind of joked with Nick after last game. I owed him one, so I was able to get that one back for him.
Steve Leventhal.
Alan, what were some of the things they were doing there at the line of scrimmage to try and stymie the your passing attack?
Yeah, they were a team that played a lot of zone. So we're getting a lot of quarter, half. We're getting a lot of too high safeties and stuff like that. Obviously, which is more tough to pass against. When you have too high safeties and things like that. So for us, we got to just figure out how to be able to get the run game going to help us out a little bit. So we try to get some single high, and be able to pass the ball a little bit more efficiently.
Finley.
Did you guys feel flat, especially it seemed like, I don't know whether the stadium here or what, but it seemed like everything was flat.
Yeah, again, the Colts kind of defense by scheme and structure is to try to keep everything in front of them. And we kind of let them do that. We didn't have many explosive plays, especially early in the game. We didn't have any explosive runs. We didn't have many explosive passes. I think maybe one or two. So again, with a team like that, you got to be able to threaten them and get them out of their comfort zone.
JJ Stankovitz.
I was just talking to Matt, and he brought up coming out of the first half and the second half, you guys get a 3-and-out, and then don't really mount anything on offense there. Just when it kind of started, did it start snowballing again in the second half? And what did you kind of diagnose as what went wrong coming out of halftime?
Again, we didn't have we had too many negative plays on first and second down. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Being able, starting drive, second and 19, second and 15. Again, same field position as well. But again, we have to be able to adjust to all that. Again, it's not going to always be perfect. We're not going to always be put in the best situations, but we got to continue to make plays. We got to continue to string plays together and then string drives together and finish in the zone.
Steve Leventhal.
Alan, how good is that defense compared to some of the defenses you've faced over the last several years?
It's a very good defense. I think it's a very, very fundamentally sound defense. You can just tell by how they play. Again, it's a team that plays a decent amount of zone coverage. But at the end of the day, those guys know their responsibility. They know where their help is at. They know things like that. So they're able to play fast. Again, for us, they play with a lot of two high safeties. Going into the game, they were a little bit more single high team. But I feel like as the game started to progress, they played a lot more two high than I personally was expecting. And again, and they just try to keep everything in front of them. Again, and when you don't get any explosive plays and you allow teams to keep everything in front of you, it's very tough. And like I said before, we can't allow teams to play us with two high safeties and do that, and not be able to get any runs going and stuff like that. So again, for our side of it, we got to execute.
How tough is this one coming in on a 3-game winning streak and then to have this one go on a day where there weren't many big plays made in any phase of this game?
I disagree with the first part, or the second part, should I say. I think there were some big plays made. There were some clutch situations where guys came up and performed. It just happened to not be enough in this scenario for us to get that dub. But I feel like there was hard play on both sides, of the ball, offensively and defensively. Shoot special teams as well. I feel like we want more, but unfortunately the cards didn't fall in our way today.
Pat Finley.
Hi, Keem. What opportunity do you have on Thursday on national TV with Tom Brady to make a statement about what your defense is?
To sack Tom Brady, first of all. But after that, we want to play good football. That's one of our goals every week is to put stuff on tape that we can be proud of. And I think today, we played some good defense. We held them to 4 field goals, right? But unfortunately, it wasn't enough for our team to overcome it. I think that there are some plays on defense that we definitely want back. But I believe in our guys. I believe we have the capability to to have a good season. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, some of the circumstances today we couldn't overcome.
JJ.
Akeem, you guys have done a pretty good job this year in situations where you've needed to make a play to come up with that, whether it's holding them to 4 field goals or holding them on 3rd down. Just what has gone into that and what worked with that again today?
As far as holding them on their 3rd downs?
Yeah, just coming up with those plays when you need to get a stop.
Yeah, I think that's part of how we're built. We understand that there are going to be plays that we give up during the course of a game, but there's a desire, right? There's a ambition to be productive, to make those plays that our team needs. So I think that when it comes to those situations, we're going to win our fair share, right, as a defense, and we got to shore up those other occasions when they're able to complete and get that 1st down. But make no mistake, the game of football, there's a reason why, that everybody, gives up a couple points. They're going to get a couple of 1st downs. And your job is to make sure that once you get into that red zone, you're fighting and you're not giving up. And you're not saying, okay, they marched down 40, 50 yards. Let's just give them a touchdown and get off the field. Our mindset is to punish our opponent until the very last second. So that's what we do.
Joe Lewis.
Yeah, King, when it came to today dominating the line of scrimmage, you all went against a really tough offensive line in the Colts. How do you feel you all did today in trying to dominate the line?
Much respect to their offensive line, much respect to their team. They came out victorious today, but we fear no man. We play football. And so when it comes to, us meeting a challenge, we're going to rise to that occasion. And I think that we did our best to do so today.
Thanks for your time, Akeem.
No problem.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update, a weekly podcast. I'm Jerry Riles, and of course, we're joined by the Honorable, I love saying that, Dr. Chad Padroma. Doc, how are you?
Jerry, I'm doing great. Thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. The sun is shining. There's a little bit of rain in the forecast, but there's baseball, postseason baseball, and of course football. We're approaching week 4 in the National Football League. The NBA Finals are wrapping up. LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers are looking to gain another title, and of course, there's already been a champion named in the National Hockey League as far as the Stanley Cup is concerned. So the sports world is fantastic. Big Ten football is around the corner. You can just say, yay. Unfortunately, the weather is changing for the worse, but all in all, things are going well. But the news of National Football League, you can run, but you can't hide. That, of course, the words of this pandemic that we're experiencing, that we're going through. Coronavirus, COVID-19, it has hit the National Football League. Doc, were you surprised? Were you shocked? Were you stunned that with all the warning signs and the precautions that the National Football League and the Tennessee Titans tested positive for the coronavirus?
Not really. You know, and I've expressed this opinion before. From my perspective, it kind of messes up the scheduling and one thing and another, which I understand. But, from my perspective, this whole thing, and not just me, has gotten down to a high-risk versus low-risk people. So, from my perspective, having low-risk people get it, who so far have not gotten sick, is, and I want to be careful how I say this, let's just say it's not such a bad thing, as long as they're not giving it to high-risk people. And, to tell you the truth, there's a whole herd immunity argument. The herd immunity argument is you get it spread throughout the population and you get immunity. The only thing wrong with that argument is if people get sick or die who get it. And if you could hypothesize a situation where you limit the people who get it to low-risk people, that can be viewed as something that can, help immunity like a vaccine. And when you think about it, where are you going to be able to control that? Well, in a bubble, right? They can control who people are exposed to. And I don't know exactly that they're doing this, but I would expect that the NFL is making sure that the other non-players who are around are not, 75-year-olds with hypertension and diabetes. So if you keep the equipment people and the business people and the maintenance people and whoever else, if you screen those people so that you have low-risk people, then if you get cases here and there, except for the logistical scheduling things, nothing significantly bad happens. And, the disease is less likely to spread in that locker room later.
But isn't it interesting? Because I was surprised and a little shocked. And I'm sure many people watching and listening to this podcast were kind of surprised when the news broke that, there was a case, players testing positive for the coronavirus, simply from the fact that we've seen what Major League Baseball has gone through and what they were able to do to correct the problem. We've seen and watched what the NBA with the bubble down in Orlando, what they were able to do to pretty much eliminate any traces of it down in Florida. We know what the National Hockey League did going up to Canada, and they had no issues. So it was kind of surprising to me with the NFL starting, just now, basically, that you would expect them to take some notes, make some phone calls, talk to the people in place, the scientists, the doctors, whoever the case may be, and to make sure that that everything was up to snuff, so to speak. How much do you factor in the traveling aspect of it? Because these teams they're traveling. The Bears are playing the Indianapolis Colts this weekend. They were down in Atlanta last weekend. So they're traveling around. Does that increase the risk of these players coming in contact with someone with the virus and passing it throughout the locker room and the facility?
Yeah, certainly it does. And the thing is, too, the nature of the sport, too. It's been pointed out, baseball is a basically naturally socially distanced sport, and in hockey, they're wearing masks, a lot of them at least, and most, I guess all of them now, aren't they? Don't they mostly wear, so
they have the helmets and then they got the
visor,
shield.
right? Yeah, the shield. And so, football more than the others, more than basketball, I'd argue. I mean, basketball, they're closer quarters, but not like football. So the thing is, you're going to get an occasional asymptomatic transmission is not common, we don't think, but it's going to occur. And so the thing is, you're just, if you get one person getting it in football, you're likelier to get 12 than if it were one of the other sports, I think, as happened.
So let me ask this question, and let's bring it back home, and we talk about the IHSA, Illinois High School Association here in the state, filed a lawsuit against the governor to say they had no right to stop the season, meaning that fall sports were moved to the spring to protect these kids. Seeing what's happening in the National Football League and the fact that there's already a team that reportedly contracted the virus, how does that look as far as the high school level is concerned? Because you talk about the varying degrees of high-risk individuals. You want to protect the youth, and we do understand, Doctor, you can clear it up. The younger people aren't as susceptible to this virus compared to older people and people with pre-existing conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's philosophical differences, and there's a couple of fallacies that go on here. And I agree totally with the IHSA. I think before you're going to remove constitutional liberties, I think there has to be a clear and present and mortal danger. And you see what has happened and what's been bandied about. Early on, people said, listen to the scientists, listen to the scientists. And as I've expressed before, the original scientist who hypothesized millions of people would die was just, putting it charitably, he was way off base and was using the wrong model. So the thing is, the reality of it is, while it's appealing to say, listen to the experts, hey, I'm just a layman, I'm just a politician, I'm just a dad, I'm just an athlete, listen to the people that know. The reality is, nobody knows. The experts don't know, And, with Dr. Fauci, depends if you're a Democrat or Republican, right? You could quote him at different times. You could say Fauci says masks do no good. You could say Fauci says masks do some good. And I mean, to tell you the truth, I don't think it's anything against Dr. Fauci. I think you look at it different times, you change your mind. But so here's the thing. When politicians get in the business of restricting constitutional liberties and shutting things down, unless it's abundant and clear, I think it's wrong. And nobody knows. On top of that, there is just no question. So then they say, well, geez, one life lost is too much. So we got to be just draconian. But the thing is, we just know abundantly, and there's more and more data every day, that the consequences of getting rid of normal activities are significant. We discussed this before with these athletes. Say, well, we don't want them on a football field, but whether they're pros or high school or college, if they're not playing football, they're far likelier to be getting into trouble going out with their buddies. So I think I think you need to let people. So for a low risk group, the real issue shouldn't be should the kids play. The kids absolutely ought to play. The issue is, and this is on the kids and on their families, just keep the kids away from grandpa. I mean, maybe that's cool to grandpa, but it might save grandpa's life. So the issue isn't should they play. Of course they should play. Of course they should be in school. The issue is, how do you protect the high risk people? And when you start shutting down the kids, you just make matters worse. So we've been through this before, and I think everybody knows it, whether it's suicide or drug things or, people being unwilling to get medical care because of the pandemic. So they got to play. I'm sure the governor's well-intended, but honestly, I don't know. It's been I think these governors all of a sudden say, hey, wow, I've got dictatorial powers if I want to use them. And I don't think They do. I think it's a bad thing. Not saying he doesn't mean. I don't know the man, Governor Pritzker. I'm sure he well. I'm sure he wants to help people, but I think it's wrong to do those kinds of things.
But doesn't this work in his favor when he says, "Hey, look, I understand. We all want to see the kids play. We want to see," and the big argument are the seniors in their final year, especially fall sports. And they're missing that opportunity to showcase their talent set and skill level on the high school highest level one last time. They won't get an opportunity to really present themselves to college and universities around the country for particular, scholarships. I know there's a story that was circulating regarding a Hispanic gentleman in high school in the city. And his goal is to make it to Northwestern on a soccer scholarship. But because the sport is taken away and pushed into the spring, he feels that is going to hurt him to get that scholarship.
Right.
But if you're the governor and you look at the National Football League and say, these guys have millions of dollars. These are high-priced athletes, skilled athletes, and they're taking every measure to be safe, yet there's a team, a franchise that players have come down with the virus. I don't want to run that risk for high schools and conferences through the state. And he said, when you look at the comparison between states, just look up north of the border of Wisconsin and how the numbers are going up since August. So if you're the governor, can't you use that as a sort of defense mechanism and say, listen, I have your best interests at heart.
No.
I don't want to put you in a position that may come back and haunt you.
I understand the rationale, and you articulated it well. And as I said, I'm sure he means well. But no, there's several things wrong with that argument. The one is that the risk to the kids is almost zero. So what you do, as I said, during the football season, if the kids get it, the kids get it. It's not going to matter. And there are consequences to depriving sports that are far greater. Let them play. If they get it, they get it. But you've got to make sure, that they're just not around grandpa that much. Or maybe grandpa goes and lives with somebody else if he's in the household. Or if the kid has no choice but to be around grandpa a lot, then maybe that kid doesn't play. But it isn't about the kid getting it. It's not bad for the kids to get it. It just really isn't. The incidence of problems are almost no. This is how we get immunity to everything. This is what happens with the flu and everything else. This is how it's supposed to happen. It's just the high-risk people. The other thing, think about this a little bit, too. You bring up the scholarship athlete, and that's a great argument. But think about this. And I don't know, I might be a little bit out of date, but, I used to spend, when I was younger, a lot of time dealing with high school, college programs, and I was serving as team physician, doing all kinds of stuff. And I remember well, and I think it's probably still like this, although I'm a little out of date, Clementi High School in the city. So Clementi High School is in an area. It's not an affluent area, and there's gangs all over the city. I don't know if Clementi's any better or any worse than any other place, but Clementi just it's per their namesake, Roberto Clementi, right? But Clementi always had. Probably still do. I'm just a little bit out of date now, out of touch, but always had a terrific baseball team. And I can't think of the name of a coach there, terrific coach. So the argument went, and the argument still goes, that one of the best ways to keep kids out of gangs is to get them involved in sports, have them doing something. So fine. So you say, or if it's football, so you say, fine, well, young man, you can't play football. So what's going to happen? Aren't more of those kids going to wind up, being in gangs or doing bad stuff? So the scholarship athlete you bring up, absolutely. But for every scholarship athlete who has a realistic chance at a scholarship, there's 30 kids who aren't going to get scholarships, but that sport provides structure. The coaches are surrogate parents. Often, as you know, a lot of the households, probably most of them, there aren't, if it's not a two-parent household, or if it is, parents are working, right? So the depriving the kids of sports has real consequences. It results in real health consequences, other consequences. So when the only danger to the kids playing, realistically speaking, is spreading it to other high-risk people, what you should do is address the spread issue and let the kids play.
You know, that's very well said, and you're right. Clemente, in the city, near West Side, so to speak, well, on the border, so to speak, but in the Pilsen neighborhood, I believe it is. And, you know, COVID has affected that community as well as all the communities around the city, the state, and this country of ours. But in the impoverished neighborhoods and in the Black and brown communities, you're absolutely right. Sports is a way to escape from reality, so to speak. And that's why I think many athletes take it to the highest level. Even the great Michael Jordan, LeBron James, all of them said sports is a way for them to get away from reality, so to speak. And this is the same thing for these kids. It's an outlet for them. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, it's really thrust them into the real world. And the sad thing about it is, Doc, is the fact that once they leave that playing field, that running track, or the volleyball court, or whatever the case may be, they're still in danger just from getting from the school to home because of the environment that they live in. And so now you throw in COVID, and it's a really a big challenge for these young student athletes. So I can hear what you're saying, and I can see what those who are also saying that, hey, you know, let the kids play, because if you don't, you might have a much bigger issue on your hands. And it is an unfortunate situation. And I would probably be one of those parents to say, hey, wait, if I lived in those communities, I go, wait a minute, you know, we have drugs and gangs in the community, and there's gunfire every single day in our community, yet my kid walks to school, participates, and gets home. So now you're trying to say with a pandemic, we have to be careful? That doesn't make, if I'm that parent in that community, I'm saying that doesn't make sense to me, because there are more dangers, ongoing dangers prior to the pandemic that we live with every single day.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And I'll tell you something. So I went to New Trier High School, and my kids went to New Trier. So you don't get, you know, it's one of the most affluent communities in the country, right? And it's funny. So, you know, and it's a strange thing being up there, because these are households that have everything by and large. And yet, you know, it's kind of like they talk about in our country, there are diseases of affluence, right? So, you know, being poor and hungry is bad, but people are sicker. I mean, if you're starving, it's bad, right? But the diseases of affluence, you know, obesity and all that, have turned out to be equally bad. Well, you know, so my, you know, father was a accountant, whatnot, and so we had a comfortable home. We were not rich. I mean, I'm still not. You know, there's people in our community that just lots of money, and so you would think that, wow, you know, they want for nothing and everything will be great, but you find that there are social diseases of affluence as well, and, you know, being kind of idle and having too much. So the point I'm getting at is, I remember even when I went there 100 years ago, and I speak firsthand a little more then, you know, there were kids then who were affluent, you know, a lot of drugs, right? Kids had money for drugs back then, you know. I mean, I was there in the 60s. It's like marijuana was every place, whatnot. But here's my point. There, on those teams, there was a level of structure and a level of discipline. So, you know, no sympathy for those people, right? But people are people. And what I'm saying is that in every community, rich or poor, sports, the structure it provides, I think is beneficial to kids.
No, I got my kids involved in sports, and of course you did too. And I try to share that with other family members, you know, nieces and nephews, because I think sports is it's a great teacher. It's a great teacher. It's a great babysitter. It's a great employer. It teaches you everything, in my opinion, everything you're gonna need to get through life. Builds character, discipline, structure, it teaches you how to get back up when you lose, when you fall down.
Yeah.
And in our society, I think people who don't engage in some type of extracurricular activity or sports, they lose that. And I think you can attribute part of that to people having anxiety issues or anger issues because they didn't participate in sport. Hence, they never learned how to to channel that, how to take that energy and put it back into whatever particular activity they were involved in. And so I strongly recommend and encourage people to get their kids involved with sports because it's something that's going to be with them for years. And it's only going to be beneficial as opposed to a detriment to the health and the growth of each and every individual that partake in it. That's just my personal perspective on
Right,
on
and
sports.
Jerry, you bring up about the actually I did not know about the lawsuit, but I mentioned before I knew there were kids in Pennsylvania who were saying let us play, and they're protesting, right? So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. You can be fired up about social justice, and that's a good thing. I mean, out in the '60s when I was in school, Vietnam, all this kind of stuff, right? It was, all kinds of stuff, worthwhile stuff. But so I think it's good for kids to care enough about something to really go out and get after it and challenge the established norms. And like with the Big Ten, don't just say, because these guys said that, challenge them. Good things happen. So I think it's good training for that too. So I'm glad they're doing that. And I'm sure it probably came from the parents one way or another. It's all good, I think.
Sure. One last thing regarding the pandemic and COVID. We're already hearing talks, Dr. Chapman-Jomas, about the second phase of COVID hitting. Obviously, we're in the midst of the start of the flu season, but now we're starting to hear the second phase, which we've heard for months leading in, of coronavirus hitting. How do you think? Do you think that is the case? And if so, how do you think it's going to affect the world of sports moving forward?
So I'm glad you bring it up because it's an interesting thing. The question is, what exactly are you looking at? And again, politically, honestly, there's a lot of there's half full people and there's half empty people, and an awful lot of it depends upon your predeterminations beforehand, sadly. But let me say this: the thing that matters is hospitalizations. It isn't cases, and it's obviously deaths, but it's hospitalizations are what matter. Getting cases, without hospitalization, and hospitalizations are going down. So the second phase, look, there's going to be bad things that are going to happen no matter what. There are bad things that happen in the flu season. There's all kinds of, but I don't think the second phase is going to be nearly as bad for several reasons, as many people say it is. One of them is that, people are just not getting as sick. And you can argue as to why. There are people who think the virus is mutating to a less severe form. But, there are other things. We know a lot more now about treatment, and we have treatment. We know the mix of people in the cases is different, right? We know now about protecting old people. So don't tell me how many cases there are. Tell me who's getting the cases. So I think that, and we're going to have a vaccine, I think, pretty soon. And I've come to think, and I wasn't really sure. I've come to think, the vaccine I think cannot help but be a plus. The only question is how big a plus. But from everything that I have read, the antibody response, the T cell response, which at least one of the vaccines is measuring, has been good. And I have not seen anything indicating that anything terrible is happening from it. So I think the second phase, have to be careful, don't get me wrong. But I think the thought that it's going to be a recurrence of what we had before is just clearly not even close to being true.
Well, I don't know if that's the case or not, Doctor, but I do know that there have been reports, and I believe it's Florida, and the governor, is it DeSantis down there? I believe he said that the second phase is already here, and it's hit them hard, and it's up to over 10% as far as the rate of increase regarding the coronavirus, and it's overwhelming their hospitals already in the early stages of the second phase. So I don't. These are reports that are coming out. I just know what I hear, and I know what I share with you. So I don't know, like you or anyone else, if the second phase is here, and if it is, and when it comes, if it does come, how much of an impact it's going to have on the community.
Well, I have to tell you,
society.
I will double check, but I've been trying to watch it fairly closely, and I don't think are there more cases? Yes, but overwhelm the hospital system. I don't think that's occurring. I don't think it's occurring any place, and I don't think it's gonna occur because the people that get it aren't as sick, and and DeSantis was, their death rate is still, last I looked, about a third of what New York's was, because they have tried to protect older people, and the young people don't get hospitalized. So I don't. I think there's zero chance that. I mean, hospitals didn't get overwhelmed the first time. With all the projections, the administration went out, got they making the Javits Center in New York into a hospital, and the boat came in and they got respirators. The hospital system didn't get overwhelmed the first time. I don't think there's any chance it's going to happen this time.
Well, I hope you're right, and I hope that we are on top of this thing, and I hope we can definitely get through the flu season, and we have this coronavirus, under as much control as we possibly can. But the important thing I believe is to everyone continue to stay safe, wear your mask when you're out and about, wash your hands, and of course, practice social distancing. That's the in my opinion, the best and safest way to make sure that you don't run into any issues. Doc, it's always a pleasure. And one thing I did want to mention and ask you, and maybe we can elaborate moving forward for next week. But we talked about the high schools and IHSA and the parents filing a lawsuit against the state of Illinois and Governor Pritzker because they want to play this fall. Athletes on a high school level and in the youth programs, when we were coming up, there were a lot of three-sport athletes, but there's been some arguments or some cases where some people feel that, hey, if my kid specializes in baseball, I want him playing baseball all year round. We know that there are AAU programs all around the country where kids are playing basketball all around. What are your thoughts on a young kid playing one sport all year round?
There was absolute consensus that multiple sports are better for the health of the athlete, and that specializing too soon is bad for them. It runs up against the fact that the thought is that you're better if you specialize, and there's lots of incentives to be better, whether it's a college scholarship or whatever. But it's thought that so first of all, it's thought that because of health, that if you're just beating up the same muscles year round, tendons, ligaments, pitchers, right? If you're just beating up that ulnar collateral ligament all year round from the time you're 14, that's bad for you. And then the other thing is the argument that you're actually a better athlete if you're playing multiple sports. The people, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a name offhand, maybe Lauren Markkinen, I'm not sure, but there's all kinds of European athletes who were soccer players growing up, and the football players, Cole Kmet, Jesper Horsted. So the Bears half of the Bears tight end contingent almost, both played college baseball. And the thought has been that, Jesper Horsted was a center fielder, and he's great hands, right? He's on the taxi squad now, but he made unbelievable catches last year in the preseason. So the thought being that you get to be a better athlete, that you allow parts of your body to recover, that you work out different muscles. So I'm a big fan of three-sport athletes. You need you need a really good parent, like the other half of this podcast besides me, who I happen to have some inside information. Had kids who were playing 3 sports. To do that, but I think there's no question it's better, and I think everybody thinks that for the kid.
You know what? Thank you. I really appreciate you. You're awesome. Thank you so very much. I'd like to continue to go on, but I think there's a storm coming in, Doc. So if anyone wants to get a hold of you, if they want to find out more about sports medicine, whether it's the foot, the ankle, the hip, or what have you, how do they get a hold of you, Dr. Chapadromas?
So our office phone is 847-699-6810, and you'll get a real person, not a phone bank answering. Smart people. And then is an email. It's just ortho, like orthopedic ortho at ISMOC, Illinois Sports Medicine Orthopedic Center. So ortho at ISMOC.net, and we're happy to answer questions that people have.
Dr. Chapadromas, a Sports Medicine Update podcast, a weekly podcast. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jerry.
Rewind Sports 60. From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town. Chicago! And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
In the world this week. So I want to get right to it. I'm your host, Lauren Cox, and I want to get to my esteemed panel. Dan Marver, the marvelous one. Dan, no more Chicago baseball. Yeah. What happened?
You know, it's interesting. Today, the Bears have no offense, and that's what happened to the Cubs and the Sox. But I will say this. They both had a pretty good season, but they got eliminated in the first round. And I think the arrow's pointing up for the Sox, and I'm not sure the Cubs might be pointing down because they may lose people, like Brizzo and Schwartz and Baez and even Epstein. So eventually, I think the game's going to break up there.
Absolutely. A lot of decisions to be made, and the amazing Jerry Riles, you text me today, yesterday I think it was, or today, one of these days you sent me a text, and we were talking about the whole Cam Newton and how he obviously was diagnosed with coronavirus, and what's the impact going to be on the NFL, and what say you, Jerry Riles, on the state of football as it pertains to the coronavirus?
You know what? I was hoping that the NFL, the National Football League, would take a page out of Major League Baseball's notebook, out of the NBA's notebook, out of the National Hockey League notebook. I was hoping that the National Football League would be able to somehow take a page from their notebook and handle coronavirus, since they had plenty of time to observe and digest everything that was going on in the other leagues. But unfortunately, as we can see, within 3 weeks, we've got cases. The Tennessee Titans, and of course, like you said, Cam Newton. We were shocked, surprised that it's starting to spread the way that it is right now in the National Football League. So it's kind of disappointing that the guys aren't being as responsible as you would expect them to be, having watched the other leagues, battle with this COVID-19 situation. But of course, it just doesn't just happen in the National Football League, and doesn't happen in the world of sports. We can see it happens over in politics as well.
You think so? I think somebody may have caught coronavirus. I don't know. Some people are still saying that it might be a conspiracy theory or not. But the Cam Newton, his positive diagnosis caused for the Bears game to be pushed back. And we see the Bears now 16-3, unfortunately.
And they lost the ball, the interception, so they're in bad shape.
What's going on with the Bears offense today. I mean, you
No
know,
offense.
Well, Lauren,
there was a different Nick Foles starting versus
Well,
coming off the bench.
That's true. That's exactly right. But Lauren, before, if you,
yes,
with your permission,
speak up.
First of all, you look fantastic.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Marvelous, you're doing okay
I'm
too.
sad, though.
I got my
I'm
black.
sad.
Got my black mask.
Hey, I got my white mask.
Okay.
My Rewind Sports 60 mask. Can we just do this real quick? Can we rewind on the Rewind Sports 60?
Okay. Let's,
No.
And can we? Should I pat myself on the back? Should I do that?
don't hurt yourself.
No, I know I got that rotator cuff going,
Yeah,
but
no.
can I pat myself on the back?
Sure.
All right.
What did you do?
Well, it's
What did
what
you
I've
say?
it's
What'd you
Lauren,
predict?
Lauren, it's what I've been doing. How many years now? 3 years, 4 years since Ricky Renneria has been the manager of the Chicago White Sox.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's what I said, Lauren. Oh gosh. And I talking about wearing your mask. I feel like I've been feeling like the Lone Ranger, because I truly believe out of all the media heads in the greatest city in the world, that of course Chicago, Illinois, out of majority of the fans who are White Sox fans and Cub fans, I think I was the only one in this great city that said that Ricky Renneria was not major league caliber. He's not a major league manager. And everybody say, oh, Jerry, no, you can't do that to the guy. Oh, the Cubs didn't give him a real good chance. Oh, you got to give this guy a chance. We don't know if he's good or not. I go, hey, listen. I've been around the block a couple times, and I've seen some things. And the Cubs did not get rid of this guy because he's a good major league manager. They did not get rid of him because of that. They did not give him $8 million to leave because he's a good major league manager. So the White Sox pluck him out and say, hey, come on over here, Ricky. Come on over here. You can manage this ball club. We're going to do exactly what the Cubs did. We're going to rebuild. We're going to rebuild the farm system. We're going to bring great Rick Hahn. Congratulations on the great deal to getting rid of Jose Quintana and bringing over the boys, Eloy and Dylan Cease from the Cubs. That was a really good move.
Yeah.
But to bring Ricky Renneria over at that time may have made a little bit of sense, okay? May have made a little bit of sense because you had a young ball team. You had some young players, and you wanted to develop them on the major league level. So I said, okay, because Ricky Renneria is a minor league manager at best. But once you felt that this team started to turn the corner, and there were some candidates out there on the market that I felt the White Sox should have entertained and went after them and said, hey, let's see what we can do. One of them is, did we say Joe Girardi was one of them?
Yeah, in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Who was the kid that was in the system? Omar Vizquel. Was it Omar Vizquel? He was in the system. He was at Double-A ball. And I'm like, maybe they're grooming him to come to the major league level. So when these kids are ready to really explode, boom. I was the only one in the city of Chicago to say this Ricky Renneria guy is not the guy to lead you to the promised land. And I told you guys, and young lady, I said, hey, listen, the only thing that Ricky Renneria needs to do regarding this squad this year, and it was an opportunity to take advantage of because it's a shortened season of 60 games, I said the only thing this guy had to do, get his lineup sheet and say, okay, we got here.
Yeah.
Just fill out the lineup card. Take it to the umpire. Sit back. Cross your legs like this. Put it up like this and put your hands behind your head. All right, boys, go to work. Okay, it's the 5th inning. Uh-oh, wait a minute. We only got 1 run, 2 runs. You go, hey, wait a minute. Guys, come on over here. Listen, all you guys can hit. Only thing I need you to do before the 9th inning or by the 9th inning to hit and get some runs. This baseball team was capable of showing us that they can do it. And then some. Well, let me tell you something. I've been waiting, felt like all month to get on the air.
Yeah.
This guy, and there's no offense, and I don't care to be honest with you, because again, he got $8 million from the Chicago Cubs. The White Sox just signed him to an extension. For what reason, I have no idea. But Ricky Renneria, And this has nothing to do with your personality. It has nothing to do. He's a nice guy. The players like him. Well, where's this nice guy that all the players like? Where are they? They're at home watching the Bears just like we are. Why? Because Ricky Renteria, for the God, Lord, I talk to you all the time. I really do. And I'm talking to you now. What the? And I don't want to. What's going on? I don't understand. How many pitches did he use? How many? 4 in 5 innings? Help me out here. What? Why are you gonna start Dave Dunning?
Well,
and then take him out with 2 runners on and 2 outs.
I guess the theory is all hands on deck in a winner take all game. So I mean that's part of the thinking, if there is some thinking.
What did you think of it? What did you help me out? I'm gonna rewind and regroup. Marvelous.
Yes.
What did you think? What did you think of his moves? And were you surprised that the White Sox are out of the playoffs?
In hindsight, the moves didn't turn out very well. The worst part was is the way the playoffs were structured. They were really close with Minnesota and Cleveland at the end,
right?
And Minnesota ended up, a 3 seed, and Cleveland a 4 seed. So I mean, they were so close to hosting.
Right.
That's the shame of it. I mean, not that there wouldn't have been any fans in the stands, but that would have been nice if they didn't have to go all the way up to Oakland.
Marvelous. That's all irrelevant.
Okay.
That's all irrelevant.
Okay, Chief.
I'm sticking with the facts of what went down.
Okay.
Lauren, help me here. Am I seeing something, or am I missing something, or do I have the blinders on?
Hey,
what was your reaction to what took place for the?
At least they won more playoff games this season than the Twins, Indians, and the Cubs combined.
What does that got to do with anything?
The Brewers.
What does that got to do with anything?
They overachieved for sure.
The White Sox?
Yeah, we weren't thinking they were just gonna, do what they did, how they did it. They started off a little shaky. I mean, obviously, there's some question marks with him for sure.
Are you sure?
But yes, but let's look at the positive here. I mean, their arrow is pointing up, just as Dan said, and that's
right.
what we've got to focus on.
Talk me off the ledge.
I think the Cubs have a lot more problems
Well,
than the White Sox.
Talk me off the ledge, Lauren. Lauren Cox.
That's who I'm worried about.
Yeah, talk me off the ledge, because I here, and this is why I'm not really pleased or happy. This is the reason why. And again, it has nothing to do with Ricky Renteria as the man, a person.
Right.
It has all to do with Ricky Renteria, the manager of the Chicago White Sox, moving forward. And here's why. If this guy, and we're going to be joined by Bruce Herron on our Bears post-game show here on WCPT 820 AM as soon as the game is concluded. Here's the reason why I'm not a supporter of Ricky Renteria being the manager of this baseball team. And it's a perfect, we've seen it all. We all seen it. The fact that he choked and panicked in a wild card game. He choked and panicked during a wild card series. The wild card series. How in the heck are we supposed to expect this guy to get this team not only to the division championship series, but the league championship series and the World Series with a level head? If he can't even manage his way out of the wild card, how do we expect him to get to the World Series? Can you imagine? If this guy, because the team is equipped, they're good. Can you imagine if he got to the World Series and he started to panic? There's no way. We can't even make it through the wild card series without this guy losing his mind and panicking. I swear to you, and I keep telling you, and Rick Hahn, Kenny Williams, Jerry Riles, listen, Michael, if you're handling some business over there too, listen, it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. I think Ricky Renteria is a good man. I think he's a honest man, a fair man. But when it comes to baseball on a major league level, he falls short. And if you don't believe me, first of all, you see the results. We're out. But all throughout this season, I've been listening to Ozzie Guillen on NBC Sports Chicago with Chuck Garfien and Frank Thomas doing pre and the post game. They do a fantastic job over there. They do a fantastic job. But I listened to Ozzie Guillen. Why? Because he's won a World Series. He knows baseball. And he said, every time he goes, listen, Ricky Renteria has been thrown out more times than I have.
They can understand what he's saying though when he argues.
He be on there hating though.
I can barely understand what Ozzie said, but when I do understand what he's saying, it makes sense to me. And I go, if Ozzie Guillen says that, then this guy, hey, it's got to be something because he's won.
Help me, Jerry. Your criticism in that game is the pitching, right? Where they pulled Dunning after 4 batters, and then Kratchik got injured, and Hoyer got hit for a home run. Rondon got yanked for not being able to throw a strike, and Foster, he couldn't throw a strike. They couldn't throw strikes.
No.
That's not Ricky's fault that these guys can't throw strikes, is it? I mean, that's part of it. The players have some responsibility.
Yeah, there's no question about it. They did have some type of responsibility, but you're only as good as your fearless leader. Okay. And Ricky Renteria is not a fearless leader. Here's where he lost that ball team, if you ask me. If you're just asking me, here's where he lost it. It was during that Cubs-White Sox series when Wilson Contreras tried to throw the bat to Mars. When he did that bat flip, and he hit the home run, and he nearly threw it to Mars. That's where he lost his baseball team. Because, and Ozzie said this, again, I listened to the great Ozzie Guillen. He said, hey, listen, he goes, if Wilson Contreras throws that bat like that, and I'm playing at second base, and he's running around the bases, he said, hey, you're going down, man. You're going down, man. You're going down. You go down. Neck down, you're going down. You're going down. That's it. You're going down. I translate that, interpret that as he said, you're going down.
Yes.
You're going down. I don't care what it is. You're going to come in my ballpark and try to show me up and then say, well, Tim Anderson did it last year, so what's wrong with us doing it? I go, okay. And I swear to you, and I understand, and you guys can hate me all you want to. You can say whatever you want to. I guarantee you, because Ozzie said it. If I was the skipper of that team in the dugout, and that kid threw the bat like that, and he's going to try to show me and my team up, I swear to you. And I grew up on the south side of the city of Chicago. You know what would have happened to that kid the next time he got up? Not a walk, because he walked. They didn't pluck him till the second time up. I would have taken that ball and threw it at his freaking head. I would have taken the ball and threw it at his freaking head. Now where's your bat flip, punk?
That's like in memory of Bob Gibson. That's what I'm thinking of, throwing it. He definitely intimidated the batters.
May he rest in peace. That's a perfect example. Bob Gibson would not have tolerated anybody trying to show him up. He would have taken that ball and he would have thrown it at his head and knocked the living. If he didn't get out of the way, would have not. And Wilson Contreras, he does not get out of the way of a pitch when it comes inside to him. Mm-hmm. He actually leans forward to get hit.
He did, and he got hit in the elbow in the last game. Yeah.
He leans forward to get hit so he can get a free pass. Ozzie told him. Ozzie said in the post game, "You come around me, you're going down, man. You're going down." I would have taken the ball, and I would have told my pitcher, when he comes up, I swear to you, it's baseball. If you don't like it, tough. I would have told him, try to knock his block off. Try to knock it into next week.
Wow.
Do you think that maybe because in 50 years the rules are a little bit different?
I don't care about 50 years. Okay. I care about right now.
Okay, I'm just saying.
And I'm a Sox fan. I'm a Cubs fan. I'm a Chicago fan. But if you come into my house and you try to show me up like that, I swear to you. Yeah. I swear to you. God is my witness. I would have taken it, and I'm a lefty. I would have taken that ball and I would have threw it at his head to try to knock the living crap out of him and say, "How you like that? How you like that? You want to go to the moon, Alice? You're going to the moon." And I guarantee you, that would have changed the complexion of that baseball game, of that series, and that would have motivated all these guys in that dugout to say, "Hey, our managers got our back. Our pitchers got our back. Let's get our asses out there and kick some ass."
The only problem is the pitcher gets thrown out with today's rules.
I don't give a rat's. I don't care, man. Hey,
that was my point. Gibson never got thrown out.
And I hear people say, "Well, they make a lot of damn money. They don't make a lot of damn money to sit their asses at home like we are." They make money to try to get to the World Series. That's what they make money for. These guys aren't making $5, $6, $10, $12, $13, $15 million to no. You get out there. If you try to show, I swear to you, Lauren, I swear to you, you try to show me up in my house, you try to show me up, I say, hey, boys, I got this.
The South Side gonna come out.
Hey, boys, I got this. And I would have tried to knock the living crap out of Wilson Contreras. I swear to you. Remember when Fernando Tatis, when he hit the 3-0 pitch, they wanted to wring his neck?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you can't let that happen. You can't. And to me, that set the tone for the White Sox closing out the regular season, moving into the wild card, and bringing their asses home.
That's the other thing. You can't have a brawl with social distancing either.
Well, some people don't care.
I know. Those of you that are, you can probably turn off the Bears game now and listen to us fully. 2-minute warning. We're down 19-3. So you really, there's not going to be any Foles miracle today. So you can stick with us.
Oh no! Come back, Mitch. No.
They even activated.
So, Lauren, from what you've been able to see as far as this Bears game is concerned, the first half was pretty dismal. 75 yards in penalties. Their third down was 1 of 6 conversion. That's the first 30 minutes of action. They had 15 minutes of possession. They just simply struggled in the first half. And you were hoping and thinking, as happened in the past, a few weeks, that this football team would be able to bounce back and come back and redeem themselves. Unfortunately, they're going up against one of the best defenses in the league. Yeah. And we know that in the third quarter, the Indianapolis Colts have only allowed, I think, like 3 points during the third quarter. So it was an uphill battle for this Bears team. Are you surprised?
I wasn't surprised necessarily because, as you stated, the Colts defense is one of the best in the league. It just, again, thinking about the quarterback play from Nick Foles, he definitely did not seem comfortable. He definitely did not do enough. And when you look at him versus Phillip Rivers, you go back to that whole, why couldn't we, get a real quarterback? That's what the resounding thing for me was when I watched this game. I don't understand why we can't, Nick Foles is a backup. Phillip Rivers was a starter monster of a quarterback. We again get the short end of the stick, and it manifests today with this 19-3 loss.
Not quite finished, but
yeah. And it's just, where do we go from here? Because we've got your boy, the GOAT, coming in a couple days from now.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
So this is not a good sign, and it leaves me very discouraged on this Sunday afternoon.
So Marvelous, is it more of the lack of execution on the offensive side of the football? Has it something to do with the defensive side of the football?
It had a lot to do with the Colts defense. They really were scrambling to the ball, and even the Bears defense has to be credited. Indianapolis had not had any 3-and-outs all year. And they had at least 3 or 4 that I recall. If they've had more since we've been here, I don't know. But so the defense did a pretty good job too. It's just that the main key actually is the only touchdown, which was due to a deflected punt on the first possession. If you recall that really set the tone of the game, because that's been the only touchdown of the game. They've had 4 field goals and a touchdown, Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So, and the Bears just couldn't. They had a couple chances. There was one unfortunate, almost interception in the end zone by Roquan, where he had his foot.
He stepped out.
That might have changed the momentum, but it's just unfortunate that they're not able to generate any offense today.
Well, here's the interesting thing about it from my perspective watching this football game is the fact that, Lauren, I'm not saying that, because Nick Foles, he's a serviceable quarterback on the National Football League level, went to the Super Bowl, MVP, all that stuff. But the point is, it seems like he's better equipped, based on his history and experience, he's better equipped to play coming in as a backup, i.e. what he did last year. Last week. So to get a start, that's kind of it's been a struggle for him. Yeah. For some reason, he generates more and he's got more of a positive approach coming off the bench. So I think he's very serviceable as far as what he's expected to do on the National Football League. I think that from what I saw in the first half, he was able, when they went on that 2-minute offense, he was able to move the ball down the field and make decisions, quick decisions. And that's what you want in your quarterback. I think, because I was doing the same thing you were doing, so to speak. I was trying to figure out, okay, What's the difference here? Because we have a different quarterback now. Everybody wanted Mitch out, and we wanted this guy we wanted this guy Nick Foles in there.
Well, I didn't want Nick either, so don't speak for me.
Based on what we had. So you want to stick with Mitch?
No, I didn't want either of them.
No, but I'm saying
I wanted Cam Newton, Phillip Rivers, anybody
under
at
the
this point.
circumstances, what we have on the roster right now.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted Nick Foles more than Mitch, I'm guessing.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah,
I mean,
uh-oh.
It didn't really matter to me that much. If you want to know the truth, Jerry, it's not like I thought Nick was just gonna come and save us.
We did last week, but not this week.
They weren't that bad in terms of the play. It was just they just wanted Mitch out of there more so.
Right.
You know, we hadn't lost a game at that point.
They're 3-0, and it's one of the few times in history that a 3-0 team has changed a quarterback. You know, so that's
right.
But Nick has thrown it up 42 times today so far at 26 completions for 249. So he's been slinging it, but they haven't been able to put it in the end zone. They just did though.
So saying that.
Yeah, they just did it though. It's 1911.
They
now.
certainly did. But saying that, do you say because we changed quarterback and everything else pretty much stayed more or less the same, so to speak? You don't have Tariq Cohen because he's out with the torn ACL.
Mm-hmm.
Do we take a look at this Matt Nagy and the play calling and say maybe? Because I don't know how they couldn't get the running game going. They have 17 rushing yards as far as David Montgomery was concerned in the first half. 17 rushing yards, 75 yards in penalties. They hadn't gone to the tight end, Jimmy Graham, I don't think until the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was targeted once, and then in the third quarter, they finally made a completion to him. So they didn't utilize the tight end. The running game was being shot down. So in my opinion, you got to point the finger at the coach and say, well, what's the story here? What do you think, Lauren?
Well, I think, in terms of Nagy's play calling, I didn't have a problem with this play calling. I think it's more so the personnel. And, my question to you guys is, do you think Nick is going to get better? I didn't see it in terms of him getting better. I didn't have a problem with the play calling. Nagy is, in my opinion, he's a good coach, but he's got to work with who he's got to work with, and he doesn't have a starting NFL quarterback to work with. So what do you want him to do? His hands are tied in terms of what he can do.
Marvelous.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the coach has some blame. I mean, I was watching Trey Burton today. With Indian, I thought he was like almost deceased after last year, the 2 years with the Bears, where he was, like a horse that they're almost going to put out of his misery. And here he's an integral factor of the offense for Indianapolis.
Right.
And the tight end is a position with Graham and others that they really need to utilize more to have a diversified offense. But I don't know. I mean, obviously the coach has blame for playing calling and whatnot, and it seemed like that they were talking about how Nagy and he were in sync and everything last week, but obviously they didn't have any success today, and now with the onside kick being recovered by Indianapolis, it's probably a loss for sure.
Yeah, it is, unless there's
they're already kneeling.
Yeah, they're already kneeling. We're going to go commercial free. It's our Bears post-game show on the Rewind Sports 60 WCPT 820 AM. If you want to join us, our number is 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, along with Lauren Cox and, of course, the marvelous one, Dan Marver. The Bears about to drop their first game of this 2020 season to the Indianapolis Colts over on the lakefront. Want to hear from you. 773-763-9278. The reason I kind of looked at the coaching staff and the play calling is because we pretty much know that the first 15 plays are scripted, okay? And when the Bears had the football, most of the plays, because of Tariq Cohen being out, they had to adjust the running attack. Yeah. And Cordell Patterson touched the ball several times on those first two series that the Bears had. And I was like, okay, I knew that they were going to try to mix things up with Cordell and, of course, David Montgomery. But I was like, I gave him the benefit of the doubt because I said, okay, that's a strategy that you want to try to see if you can throw a wrinkle at the Indianapolis Colts. And then once you get into your groove or whatever, you want to say, okay, now we're going to open things up. Mm-hmm. I did not see things opening up for the Bears. Yeah. And I think if you get rid of one running back in Howard, and you dropped another running back in David Montgomery because you say he fits your style of offense, the way you run your offense, and we saw what he was capable of doing in last week's game, I thought that maybe you would decide to give the rock to him a little bit more and let him pound and pound and pound. And I thought you were trying to set the stage when you use Cordell Patterson, as your running back to try to kick things off. Again, to try to throw a wrinkle at the Indianapolis Colts and see how you can try to open up the offense. And I got to give him credit because Nick Foles in that first half actually extended the football field, which is something that the Bears normally don't do. He threw the ball downfield to keep the defense honest. And I thought that was a pretty good strategy. But for some reason, it seemed like the Bears did not have a plan 2 as they fall to 3-1 on this season. They fall to the Indianapolis Colts by a final score of 19-11. If you have any feedback, if you have any response, if you have any thoughts on this game, feel free to give us a call. Our number, 773-763-9278. It's the Rewind Sports 60 WCPT commercial-free Bears postgame show. Lauren, I just thought maybe I expected more from the play calling, especially the way things started. And I think many fans feel the same way. I just don't think we got there.
Absolutely. Coach Nagy said regarding the run game, that'll be our job as coaches to figure out schematically how we want to use them, speaking of Patterson and Montgomery as well. And, he didn't really do it. Montgomery, previously, he gained 191 yards from 42 carries, and he caught 6 passes for 64 yards and 1 touchdown. Patterson rushed for 57 yards on 15 attempts and caught 3 passes for 20 yards prior to today's game. You have a valid point there. That would be a key point. You lost Tariq. You know what he is to, our game. And that is their job to figure out how to plug and play and schematically how are they going to effectively use the 2 running backs that we have to make an impact on this game.
Yeah. The other thing is that with Cohen unfortunately being out for the year, it must reveal the lack of their depth. I mean, you'd think that maybe they'd go to Ryan Nall or somebody else who's on their depth chart to do a little running back action, but that didn't happen either because I guess he would be next on the depth chart, according to what I'm saying, that they could use a few more people to shake things up, but that's not what happened. And they only today Montgomery had 27 yards.
And Artavis Pierce too.
It 10 carries. So that wasn't very much.
So that's the thing. That's why I look at the play calling of Matt Nagy, because I don't think that he was versatile enough as far as his play calling was concerned. I don't think that he necessarily utilized, the weapons sort of that he had. I don't think he utilized them to the point where it could be effective enough to keep the Indianapolis Colts honest. Now, keep in mind, we got to say, this Indianapolis Colts team that came into Chicago today, they're not a slouchy team. I mean, they're in the top categories as far as, points allowed, yardage allowed, passing yardage. So this defense, and they lost their linebacker in the third, I think midway in the third quarter, midway through the second half, and Leonard, who went out with an injury. But they had an all-pro cornerback from the defensive player of the week last week. So they're not a slouch. So the Indianapolis Colts came in here saying, hey, you know what?
We're ready to play.
We're ready to play.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready to play? And I don't think that Matt Nagy prepared his team well enough during this past week to get them up and ready for this football game. And that's why I've been telling you guys and girls out there that I believe that this is, the 2-0 record I thought was hollow. I thought when Nick Foles came in last week that gave us a little bit more credibility as far as what this team is capable of doing, what this offense is capable of doing, but we still had a lot of work to do. And of course we see that. Now, I don't know, do we point the finger at Chuck Pagano as well? Because this defense, they give up 19 points, but you cannot score 11 points in the National Football League and expect to win. So I think the coaching staff, we got to take a step back and take a look at them. Because again, in the first half, 75 yards in penalties. 75 yards in penalties. That is inexcusable. It's unacceptable. Your team needs to be prepared. And I heard Matt Nagy this week after one of the practices, and they were talking about the corona and COVID-19, and he said, hey, you know what? Tell the guys I tell them, put the mask on. Keep the mask on. He said, it's not that difficult. He said, it's easy. Only thing you have to do, just wear the mask. He goes, even when you're away from the facilities, just keep the mask on. It's not that difficult. And what came to my mind was discipline. I said, if you can get disciplined enough just to wear the mask, it shouldn't be a problem. And he's absolutely right. Unfortunately, that did not translate over to the football field because the lack of discipline came up. I don't know. Look, Marver, tell me the numbers as far as
they
penalty yards.
8 penalties, 103 is how it ended.
103 yards and penalties. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Yet your running back got how many yards?
Well, he got most of the yards. I mean, their whole rushing attack was basically what Montgomery had. They had 28 yards rushing in the game.
28 yards rushing in the game. And 100, how many yards in penalties?
27. What?
How many yards?
108.
108 yards in penalties.
103, sorry.
Yeah, listen, I'm not taking anything away from this virus because it kicks you in the ass. And that's, of course, if you survive. So I understand that. You tell your players, be disciplined. You see what happened with Cam Newton. We see what happened with the Tennessee Titans. Wear your mask. Practice social distancing. Wash your hands. I understand that. But if you want them to be that structured and that disciplined regarding that, their profession calls for structure and discipline. 108 yards and penalties against one of the best defenses in the league right now is inexcusable and unacceptable.
It is.
It's ridiculous.
It was 8 penalties for 103.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But this man is going to clear it all up for us. You love him, ladies and gentlemen. Number 51 in the program. He's number 1 in our hearts, ladies and gentlemen. He's on our TR60 hotline for our Bears post-game show. He is the one. He's the only. He's Bruce Herron. Bruce, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing today?
Well, good. Again, man, I was standing on the curb and I was ready to jump off the curb. So you have to talk me off from the Cubs and the Sox now to the Bears, man. Hey, Bruce, how do you sum up this unfortunate defeat at the hands of the Indianapolis Colts? The Bears fall 19 to 11. The record fall to 3-1. Is this the real Bears team that we really witnessed this afternoon over on the lakefront?
No, man. I tell you what, that was the most frustrating game to watch that I've watched in a long time. I think the first half, Nick Foles wasn't connecting on most of his passes. But you know what, man? Our defense got outplayed. The Colts defense, of course. I mean, they look like a Chicago Bears defense. I mean, swarming on the ball, tough coverage on all passes. It was just, I'm telling you, I don't know, man. It was something that was just, they looked like they were out of sync. For some unknown reason, the offense was just out of sync, and so was the defense. I mean, they came close to getting a couple of turnovers. The turnover that was actually nullified in the end zone on Smith, Roquan Smith. I think that was a turning point as well. But but the play calling offensively was man, it just wasn't right. It just wasn't right. It didn't feel right. There was no spark. It was just ho-hum most of the day. So, I don't think can regroup and come back out with more fire in their game.
We're on with Bruce Herron, former Chicago Bears linebacker, joining us on the Rewind Sports 60 at Bears postgame show. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, something was definitely missing today. I think the play calling offensively was not on par as well.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know if it was a lack of having a Corn in the game, but I think they missed that speed. They were just outplayed today, man. They were outplayed today. That damn Colts defense, they looked real. They were swarming to the ball every damn run, every damn pass reception. They were just all over the place. I was impressed with their defense.
Yeah, it definitely was impressive, but that's what these guys are getting paid for, and they needed to prepare all week long because we knew what the Indianapolis Colts, albeit they played some lackluster teams prior to this clash with the Chicago Bears, but Matt Nagy and his coaching staff, you would imagine, would have been a lot more prepared for this Indianapolis Colts team, and you would think that a week of practice with the first team offense, that they would get in some sort of sync and some sort of rhythm. I thought, and I told this to Lauren, I shared it with Marvelous and our listeners, that the play calling for Matt Nagy to start the game off, he gave the rock to Cordell Patterson, and Cordell got
lit up.
Yeah, I mean, he got lit up, but I you know what? I gave Matt Nagy the benefit of the doubt because I understood Tariq Cohen was out, and I think he was trying to loosen up the Indianapolis Colts and try to feel them out to see how they were going to attack. And you're right, they went after Cordell Patterson. So I figured that after the scripted plays that Matt was going to go into his bag of tricks and try to come up with some ways to keep the offense the defense off balance. And at times he did show that, but it wasn't consistent, and more importantly, it did not fool the Indianapolis Colts.
Right. I agree with 100%. It looked like Foles was off in the first half. That was something. There wasn't a cohesive connection with his wideouts. I mean, he was overthrowing, underthrowing, throwing behind. I don't know if it was his fault or the fault of receivers not shutting it down. Running a crossing pattern and seeing a safety sitting in the spot where the ball is supposed to go, and he's supposed to shut it down and catch the ball in front of the guy. It's hard. It's hard as a layman to sit back and criticize a play or a group of plays when we don't really know what the team calls for in terms of, if you see the safety coming into the area where the ball is supposed to be delivered, you're supposed to shut it down. You're supposed to shut it down and throw it to his back shoulder. I saw that a few times, and it was just not right. Something wasn't right today, so I hope they can get that fixed.
Hey, Bruce, I definitely hear you. Something definitely was not right today. But I want to look to a couple of days from now, Thursday night, as the Bucs will try to stretch their winning streak to 4 games on Thursday in Chicago, when they play the first of 5 primetime games in a span of 7 weeks. Looking ahead, what adjustments do you think need to be made in order to have a win, shall I say? That might be stretching it a bit, but definitely to have some impact in this game against Tampa Bay on Thursday.
I'm going to tell you something. The defense has got to take control of the game. They've got enough talent on the defense to actually make something happen. They've got to get a pass rush. When you've got Hicks and Robert Quinn and Khalil, I mean, we got a lot of talent in the defense, man. They have got to take the ball and say, listen, guys, we have got to score. We have got to win this game. We've got to call interceptions, call fumbles. We've got to recover fumbles. We've got to get interceptions, and we've got to take it to the house. And and they've got to do that. They've got to talk about that, and they've got to make it happen. They've got enough talent to take control of the game. And so it's up to the defense to set the tone.
Well, what's your assessment on Pagano? Because it seems to me that, that's always a question in terms of him.
Well, you're right, man. Since Pagano's come in, the defense hasn't played up to the par of that the defense had been accustomed to playing. I don't know if it's his strategy, if it's his demeanor, his conversation that he has with the players. I don't know. It just seems like since he's been there, the defense has not been as dominating as they were prior to him being there. So,
yep. Brooks, I gotta ask you this. Our good friend. Well, we see the stats. Here's what's a major problem, and I hear you on the defensive side of the ball. But one of the problems for the defense is the fact that there's a lack of execution from the offense. I mean, we've seen it this season where it's been a tale of two halves. And today, third down efficiency, we were 4 for 14. So if you can't convert on third down in the National Football League, obviously, hence, that means your defense is going to get back out on the football field. And believe it or not, they get gassed too. They were on the field for 32 minutes because that's the amount of time the Indianapolis Colts have the football, more or less. So if you can't convert the ball on third down, going 4-14, and every week we see the same deficiency as far as third downs are concerned, it's gonna take a toll on that defense. Would you agree?
Well, I agree with you, but also the defense is a team of its own. They've got to take the attitude that regardless of what position the offense puts them in, that they're going to go out there and they're going to get the ball back. They're going to cause a turnover. They're going to shut them down. They're going to force a punt. They're going to force an interception. They're going to force a field goal. But you can't go out there and let them drive the ball down the field on you and score a touchdown. That's just unconscionable. That is not Chicago Bear defense football.
No, I agree with you. It's not Chicago Bear defense football, and it's disappointing. And you know, we talk about the quarterback and Phillip Rivers. You know, he's not the Johnny Unitas. He's not the Joe Montana. Nope. He's not the Tom Brady. He's not a Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers, but he is an effective, quality football player on the National League level as a quarterback is concerned, and he utilized his running back, he utilized his receivers, and he exploited the Bears defense. So I agree. There's no real excuse why this Bears team defensively weren't able to stand up and step down and get the job done. But again, we got to give some credit to the Indianapolis Colts because their coaching staff did exactly what they game planned to do. That was to come in, keep the Bears defensively off balance, use their running attack, utilize their receivers, and, see where they would get.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. In terms of Phillip Rivers, I probably the last 3 or 4 years, I have not been a big Phillip Rivers fan. I mean, I look at the way he throws the ball. It looks like he's struggling to throw the ball. He's not extremely accurate, but today he did just enough to win the game. I mean, when he had to, he put the ball in the hands of his receivers where they needed it to be. When we didn't do that, I just think that defensively we could have had a better game out of him and put our offense in a better position to score some points.
Yeah, I truly believe. I just think that the play calling on Matt Nagy's part. I think. And we've seen him be creative in the past. We've seen him some crazy things. I don't think you have to get that exotic and elaborate as far as your play calling is concerned. I'm from the old school. I'm a Buckeye man, and the Woody Hayes era, and it's like 3 runs in a cloud of dust or whatever. But you give the ball to your kid and let him run the rock and see what he can do. Yeah. 10 carries for 27 yards. Yeah. 10 carries for 27 yards.
Yeah, that was the whole running offense. The Bears were 4 out of 14 in third down, and Indy wasn't much better, 8 out of 19. And you talk about Rivers, the 17th year. He was in the draft class in the first round with Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. He's been around a while.
Yeah, he has been around, wow. and I mean he's a seasoned, experienced quarterback. But Phillip Rivers has never put the final nail in the coffin as far as he hasn't been able to close the door.
He's better than what we got.
He's not. I don't know if he's better than what we got.
I think so.
I think
he's
Nick
a starter,
Foles,
a real one.
No, I mean Nick Foles he's a serviceable quarterback, and I truly believe. I think the talk around the league, Lauren, is the fact that he is not a starting quarterback. He is more serviceable coming off the bench, and of course we saw that last week. He gets his first NFL start. Now, to his credit, or to his defense, you have to say that last week was the first time that he actually got a full week of work with the first team offense. Okay?
How long he been in the league?
But there's no, of course. But I mean, come on now.
Maybe
But wait a
like
minute.
baseball.
You're talking about being hard on a guy.
We gotta make
Give
it
the
like,
guy a
like,
break.
make it like
He
baseball
is
guys.
what he is.
No, make it like baseball. He'll be the relief pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, but Bruce, my point being, watching this football game and watching Nick Foles, he's not the second coming of the Lord. There's no question about it. But I said, you know what? This guy can manage the offense effectively, and we saw that with the 2-minute offense in the first half of play. We saw him effectively move the ball down the field. He was able to do his progressions, his check down, and he was hitting the receivers and making things happen. This is unlimited, limited play. No preseason, no training camp, none of that. And so he's playing himself into the position, right? In my opinion, he's playing his way into the regular season. Is he going to be perfect? Hell no, he's not going to be perfect. But I just felt that Matt Nagy sometimes, and you help me out with this one, Bruce, I think sometimes Matt Nagy starts to doubt himself because of the person who's the signal caller underneath center. And when he starts to question himself and doubt himself, to me, it trickles down to what we see offensively, and it affects the players, and it affects the outcome. The Bears lose it 19-11. Matt Nagy is at the podium right now to address the media. Let's take a listen.
Again, situationally, played well and forced field goals. Again, 19 points on defense. You should be able to win games. And third down, we were 4 for 14. That part there, again, we need to be better. 17 yards rushing on 11 attempts in the first half. Longest run of the game, 6 yards. So there was really never a rhythm in the game. And then too many penalties. I thought you just felt penalties at inopportune times. And so what we need to do now is obviously on a short week, we have to pick up the pieces. We just had a talk in the locker room of just understanding that we stick together and that we have a short week against a good football team. But, I have a lot of respect for our players, and I know that they, along with our coaches, will do everything we can to get better.
That's your head coach of the Chicago Bears, Matt Nagy, addressing the media after the Bears' 19-11 defeat at the hands of the Indianapolis Colts over on the lakefront. Today, Bruce, we did not shake the lake, my man. We did not shake the lake.
We got shook.
Hey, Bruce, let's take a quick phone call before we bail out. We go out to Gerard, who's calling from Chicago. Gerard, welcome to the Rewind Sports 60. How are you, buddy?
Jerry Riles, Mercedes, sports the only politics. What's up with those Bears?
Hey, man, you tell us. You're over there on the lakefront, man. You're just a few blocks away from Soldier Field. What was your reaction, your perspective on today's unfortunate loss, 19-11?
Grossly disappointed, Jerry Riles. As a family member who has several Buckeyes in my family, the Ohio State community would have never allowed this. Look, man, here's the deal. I say keep Foles in the mix, but I really feel for the coach Nagy because Foles and Trubisky, who knows what's going to work here, man. I mean, I wish the Bears would have got Cam Newton, but he's got COVID. I mean, it's just a tough time for the Bears, Jerry Riles.
Hey, G, you're the best, brother. Keep listening. We got to spring you, man.
That was the problem. The game time was changed. That's what threw them off. When Newton got
exactly,
their rhythm was off.
Hey, Bruce, real quick. I mean, you played with the beloved for 5 years back in the day with the great late Walter Payton. Does time change affect the players? Because I know athletes are creatures of habit. Does time change during the regular season for professional athletes? Does that affect their psyche going to a contest? Bruce.
Are you asking me that?
You are, yeah, because you're the only one that played in the National Football League. I don't think Lauren laced him up.
Not quite.
Does the time change? Does the time change?
Yeah,
no. The time change doesn't affect football players, man. I mean, football players are some of the roughest, toughest guys you'll ever want to run into, man. I mean, when the coach says, you know what, we're gonna tee it up tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We're going to get this thing started. We're going to kick off at 10 o'clock in the morning. You get the call and say, hey, guys, we're not teeing it up until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Take a couple hours to relax, get your mind together. Guys, get your mind together, and we make it work. We make it work.
I mean,
So I mean, in terms of football, no, man. I mean, the time change and all that stuff. Hell, I mean, how could the time change affect the Chicago Bears when it didn't affect the Indianapolis?
You got that right.
Football team too.
Hey, Bruce, it's the fastest hour in sports conversation, man. We got to spring you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the week, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you next Sunday. Hopefully the Bears with a victory over Tampa Bay, man. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Bruce.
Take care, man. Number 51, Bruce Heron on our TR60 hotline. Real quick before we go, Marvelous, closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, in the area of COVID, you may end up with football on Tuesday or Wednesday night, but it looks like they're going to have the New England game against the Kansas City tomorrow on Monday night so far. But and they had to reschedule everything because of the Titans. So far, there's been these 2 incidents, and let's keep our fingers crossed.
Lauren, real quick, closing thoughts?
So, yeah, disappointing loss today, but we still have the NBA Finals tonight.
Yeah. Oh,
Lakers versus Miami. Miami is up 22-9.
Oh, jeez. Devin Tingle, thank you for an outstanding job. Thanks to Lauren Cox. The Marvelous One is yours truly, Jerry Riles. Catch us on Wednesday, Comcast, Channel 17, Channel 19, Channel 35. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. We'll talk to you Sunday. Go Bears.
Relax, reset, rejuvenate. Go to a link right now to restart your life. TheRewindSports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60.
Out to the ball game, Hall of Famer Andre Dawson.
All right. Let's hear it from the greatest fans ever. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back Forest root. Root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Hey, let's get some runs. Thank you.